Buckle up, excellence junkies, because this podcast is definitely for you. Welcome to Rocket Fuel. Do you wish that you could surround yourself with people that love to kick ass just like you? Well, come to my party, baby, and meet some of the brightest stars in the entrepreneurial galaxy, because it is my mission to give these entrepreneurs a platform to declare what they are on this planet to accomplish and to show you why they are rocket fuel. Nelly! Oh my goodness, guys, my dear Rocketeers, this is going to be a boom for real episode today. It is perfect for those of you that have desired to actually share your knowledge on stage. And I'm not talking about somebody else's stage. I am talking about the desire to share it on your stage so that you can control the vibe, the energy, the message, and ultimately offer people the best offer that you can provide to the people that you want to serve. And this is I'm super excited about it. Even if you're not an entrepreneur, you need to meet this guy, because we have today. He's like,
where is he? Where is he? I want to meet him too. He sounds great.
He sounds amazing. We have Ken Krell, who is the founder of Amazing Digital Events. This is his mission, to be able to help entrepreneurs realize this dream of having an event that truly represents who they are, but is actually revenue generating. Imagine that, right? Ken, thank you for joining me, because I admire you so much.
I love you too. Thank you. It's great to be here. It's great to be
here. So tell me, I know that you've been in the event space for a long time, and then going into digital events, but tell me about just why this is so important for you to help people put on amazing digital events.
Well, Wanda, first of all, thanks. It's great to be here with you as always. It's funny. I've been speaking in front of people for 40 years, which amazes me that it's been that long. And I see people struggling. They certainly, after things shifted so seems like so long ago at this point, people needed to pivot, and I was looking for, what can I do to make a difference? What should my thing be? Because I've always been speaking for other people on their stages as their mouthpiece and made millions for them. But what could I do for me? And I don't know how many other people out there are in that state where it's like, I got a message, but I'm not sure how to get it out.
Yeah.
So it occurred to me in a meditation that what I should do is actually teach what it is that I do.
So
And
you were
actually,
so tell me about how you were doing this on other stages. What does that mean?
Well, I was kind of a paid gun. I paid a hired gun. So back in the day, if you remember Charles Gibbons had a program, and I would travel the country and I would teach his stuff on stage. They would fill rooms, and I was the guy that would fly in and be, I was the guy, if you saw the infomercials, come to the hotel for the free lecture on how you can buy real estate, no money down. Well, you go to the hotel and you'd see me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm following.
Yeah, it was a fabulous training ground. I mean, I learned how to do TV, I learned how to do radio, I learned how to do newspaper interviews, and I got paid to do it. It was awesome. And I was spoiled because I would fly to a place, they pay for the air, they pay for the hotel. And I just showed up, I spoke, I was like the rock star, and then I got to go home. If I ever got home, because there were times I was home six days a month. But there were some, but I never felt like I was working. I mean, every now and then you have an audience, one other, but typically it was just a love fest. And I had 2 years when I was in Canada. I was commuting from Fort Lauderdale to Canada, all over Canada, and it was the best ever because I'd bring my skis. And so I'd go and I'd speak during the week, I'd ski the weekend, then I'd speak during the next week. It was the best thing ever. So
nice.
That whole thing was fat. Those were the good old days. Now the pivot to digital And I started doing that in 2009,
Yeah.
doing digital summits and so on. I mean, it's been a long time for me. So this so-called pivot has been like, yeah, and you know,
Mhm.
and even in lockdowns, and I've been through a bunch of different lockdowns. Uh, so it's no shift to me at all. I mean, what am I going to do?
Wow.
I'm still doing business, So
Yeah.
it's been the best thing ever. And to share that with other people and give them the flexibility and freedom to take command and control of their lives by using the power of digital is phenomenal. And it's only a business that's growing. I mean, the studies have shown compound annual projected growth rate for the next like 5, 6 years, 23%. And
Wow.
in our space, and in our space of digital, it's 25%. So, people are thinking, well, now that that things are shifting and we're going back to a so-called whatever new normal life is, we'll go to live events or live physical events rather. I'm like, that's wonderful, and I'm not shifting. I'm not going to
Right.
get on an airplane and wear a
Digital
mask.
Right. And digital will never go away. I mean, hopefully
No,
people will
no,
realize if they
no.
hadn't been going digital that this is like a must-have layer, to your
Yeah,
business. But to your point, like um,
yeah,
I work with people all over the country, all over the world. And so, having digital conversations was just kind of part of how I did business. So
yeah.
that aspect of it, a lot of people feel like, "Oh, this is the new way." But like you said, I've been doing this since 2009. Like, but what's perfect
When I,
about it,
yeah,
what's perfect about it is that this isn't new experience that you're providing the people that you
yeah.
support. You're like, "Yeah, been there, done that, and now I've just amped it up."
Yeah. Well, it's a couple of things. I want to kind of make some distinctions here. People talk
Yeah.
about virtual events, and my buddy Simon Bowen from here in Australia took me apart a couple of years ago, and he's like, Ken, they're not virtual; they're real. They're like digital events. I mean,
Mm.
is a phone call real or virtual? It's real. It's a real conversation. Is this real or is this virtual?
Yes.
This is us, right? And now we
Yeah.
take Zoom calls for granted. So is it? So we don't even talk virtual. And it's live. So it's a live online event, live digital event. But virtual is like one of those no words ever,
Yeah.
because that implies not real. Um,
Right. I
and,
love
and
that. I love that.
yeah. And the thing that people, it's funny because a friend of mine who I've spoken on his stage, he was one of my clients, and made a lot of money for him. He said to me the other day, he's like, so did digital events, are they as profitable as physical? I'm like, Brendan, I told you this at lunch the other day. My God, why would you do physical events ever anymore? And he's like,
They're
oh,
so
because
expensive.
well, they're crazy expensive. I mean, you think about this. Even if you're doing it in your hometown, you still got to pay for the hotel because you're going to stay there to be in that space, in that mental space.
Mhm.
And if it's not in your hometown and you're flying there for you and your team and the hotel and the food, that's just for you physically, right? And by the way, if you're me, and for the past 8 years I was living in Thailand, so try going from Bangkok to Australia to London to
Ugh.
California to Miami. You know, just the time on the airplane alone is unproductive. That's one. But then
Yep.
there's the challenge of the damn jet lag. And if you people in North America are like, yeah, I know jet lag from New York to California, I'm going to tell you something. Get a life. That's nothing. You guys have no clue you're lightweights. You want to talk about
Mhm.
jet lag? You go 24 hours from Bangkok to Tokyo, Tokyo to California, California to Miami to see my mom. That's jet
Yeah.
lag.
Yeah.
That's jet lag. So,
Yeah.
so you lose that time and of course the production time by feeling like you've been hit by a bus. But
Mhm.
but also now, top of that, if you're doing an event, you've got hotel catering, ballroom rental. You've got to book it out months in advance to get the space. Okay, and then let's
Mhm.
take a look at the clients. They've got to get on a plane to go from wherever to come to you. And the likelihood is they're not going to fly from Johannesburg, South Africa to Orlando for a 2-day event.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just doesn't make sense.
So
But
this is
now,
I I just have to unpack this just for a
yeah,
moment
go ahead.
because what
Go
I
ahead.
what I love um about this discussion is that we're not talking about digital events in light of what has just happened in the shift. It's literally
Mm-mm.
thinking about how and especially as an entrepreneur, how efficient, cost effective, amazing ROI it is to master. So let's clarify,
Yep.
to
Yeah,
master a digital event, because
yeah,
the mastery is understanding, and this is where your perspective is coming from, understanding what made that physical event so enticing, what made people think like, how could you replace that? And you've put a lot of effort into ensuring, well, hence the name of your company, Amazing Digital Events, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
ensuring that that digital experience is so amazing that everybody is happy, that people don't feel compromised. So what were some of the things that to you were critical, that you had to carry over from a physical event, that you had to ensure was in your Amazing Digital Events?
It's a great question. First of all, you can have probably about 80 to 90% of the same stuff you did in a physical room happen online. And you can't hug, which I miss. I used
Mhm.
to give people back rubs in the back of my room, which now probably I get arrested for because they call that sexual deviancy. You know, but back in the day, you could give people back rubs. They go, "Thank you," and so now they want to slap you. It's crazy. Um, but but whatever. I think the biggest thing that we need to bear in mind is that what you bring to the table, because being what I call ridiculously irresistible
Mhm.
really is a function of using brain science, which is really how we're documenting it now. I call it neural rapport, and
Mm.
effectively, when you open up your heart, when you become real and you don't BS people, and you're just transparent with who you are, that level of connection makes all the difference in the world.
Mhm.
That's the consideration right there. And so
Mm.
with that, and by the way, real quickly, am I echoing for you? Because I'm echoing back to me, and I want to make sure that you're
Nope,
okay.
sounds good here. Yep,
Okay,
thank
okay,
you.
perfect. Okay, perfect. So, and by the way, what I did just now, I do in my events.
Yeah.
I'm as transparent as that, and your audience loves that. So if you simply put your ego on the shelf and
Mm.
deliver from heart. I mean, just the dynamics of an amazing event. I don't have walls of technology here. I've got two plants and a picture. Okay. Oh, and I do have some blue lights because I wanted some sexy disco stuff. But I spent an extra $50, but that's it.
Yeah.
I don't do the high tech. I do the high touch. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, a significant difference. The more my sense is, the more honest you are with your audience, the more you treat them like adults and treat them like friends, and recognize here's one big mindset shift I want everyone to get. And
Mm.
that is, the people in your audience came there because they want to be there. This isn't a corporate event where they're like, "Oh, damn, what are you going to teach me?" This is the events
Mm.
that we do are events that people pay to be at. They're events that they want to be at. They dedicate and dedicate their time to be at. So they're already friendly and ready for you. They are your cheerleaders. They are your fans before you even say hello.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that should make life a lot easier. And I do want to make one other important distinction, because people have said, but can you really sell the same way? Can you really convert the same percentage of audience? And I'm telling you what, I've converted better. I've
Whoa!
converted better with higher prices than ever before. Yes. Because one of the
Really?
things that yeah, because here's the thing. I can see you, and I can see what's going on with you right now, but and you've been to my Pride experience.
I have.
I can see families, coming in. I can see the kids and the cats and the dogs and the
Yeah.
babies, and I call people out on it, and people are seeing better. Think about this. If you were speaking to an audience of even 500 people in a ballroom, and I've done many of those over the years, typically all you see are the first 3 or 4 rows. And if you get to a
Mhm.
room of 1,000 or more, they're watching you on video anyway, right? And you're blinded by lights. You don't see anybody. Here,
Yeah.
I get to see all of you. And something else, strategy. We talked about this before we went live. I design my events to be small and intimate, because I want to be able
Yes.
to see people and pick on them, but I pick on them with love. I get
Yeah,
cheeky,
yeah.
I get fun, but that's the right fit audience for me. If they
Mm.
can't take a sense of humor and being ribbed, then they're the wrong folks. And
Yeah.
that's a whole nother consideration. That right fit audience will follow you to the ends of the earth, because they know they're seen, and that
Yes.
matters so much. So I specifically keep things limited. And by the way, that also a smaller group also improves your closing ratio too, if you want to get too technical on that. which
Interesting. Yeah,
which
because sometimes we think of like this one big event. We want to try and jam as many people in it as possible. And with a, 10, 20, 30% closing rate and,
yep,
all of
yep,
that stuff.
yep,
But
yep.
there's so much to talk about. Okay. By the way, my dear Rocketeers, we could spend hours with Ken. So I'm trying to like control myself and figure out
I'm
like
sorry.
what is going to be of greatest value to you as a listener. So what I'm going to do, I understand we all listen to our podcasts, we're working, we're driving, whatever. If you have been desiring to share your not only your knowledge, but yourself, right? Your personality, and to finally have control over impacting the people that you want to impact, because you can tell by Ken how you speak that you're talking a lot about connection and impact. It's not about like the razzmatazz production quality, although I love your background and your palms and all of that stuff. But we were talking about off camera, like that, hey, if somebody wants to zhuzh it up and do that because that's who they are and that's the
Mm.
reflection of their personality, awesome, right? But if somebody wants to do it from their office and whatever, and that's what their comfort level is, the authenticity, is what's really important. But people can witness that from how it is that you put together your own events. And oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about. But the my objective here is that person that I just called out. I want you to stop, pause for a moment, because we have to realize that where Ken came from, very interestingly enough, was being the hired gun for a company that already had a high ticket, what people will call quote unquote high ticket. You like to call it what, Ken?
Premium value offers.
A premium
Be-
value
because be-
offer.
because I focus on what you're delivering, and premium value is oriented towards you, not towards me. High ticket is all about me. Premium value is all about
Totally.
you.
Totally. When we say, "Oh, I really want to put together a high ticket offer," that mentality, like literally, it like me
Yep,
sometimes, because so
yep.
for those of you listening that are not entrepreneurs may put together, "Oh, I want to put together a high ticket offer," meaning like their most expensive program, right? Now, to be fair, for many entrepreneurs that even use the term high ticket offer, their intention is to say, like, what is the program that is like, if I could do my best version of my service for you, this is like the whole like A through Z. But it winds up being a more expensive offer, right? So,
Yeah,
but there's this terminology in the industry called high ticket, and it's so selfish. It's about
yeah.
me, me, me. And when you put that same intent and say it's a premium value, then all of a sudden you're like switching your brain to say, to really think of it as like, what is the best version, the greatest value I could possibly offer? And it's not going to be perfect for everybody, but I know maybe a small percentage of people are like, look, I respect you, your methodology, the whole thing. Give me the whole 9 yards, right? And that's what that would be. So the key to talking about wanting to impact an audience and all that stuff is not to do a bunch of charity talks, right? When we're impact driven, that's what we often accidentally do, because we're not strategically thinking about how we share our knowledge and such. And so Ken's focus is like, sure, you could do all that. Let's package all of that. But the core of it has to be that premium value offer. And so there are a lot of questions around that. How Ken approaches it is very different. But every single one of our episodes, my goal here is to introduce you to an amazing expert, inspire you, woohoo, and then give you something to do as a result,
I
right?
like the woohoo. The woohoo is
Yeah.
what's most important right there.
Well,
That's
yes,
it right there.
exactly. Because
Right.
that's what people are going to feel when they hear you. They're going to be like, "Ooh, I want the
Yeah.
adrenaline to be amped up, and you're worthy of that, right?" But this is what you need to do. You need to pull out your phone and request this guide that Ken put together called Ready to Create Your Stage, which actually is about designing that ridiculously irresistible offer. He has his own formula and approach of what not only makes a high ticket offer, but that premium value offer that is truly irresistible, and there's emotional components to it as well as value components. Okay, so we can't dig into it, but I highly recommend that you get this guide. It's going to be a different approach than what you've seen with other folks, and this is how you get it. You're going to text RF amazing, RF for rocket fuel dash amazing, all one word, to 411321. If you're in the US, make sure if it asks for your email address, you put that in, because that's how you're going to get this PDF, right? It is short, sweet, but it actually has an exercise for you to start the process of either evaluating whether the offer you have is ridiculously irresistible, or if that offer that you're dreaming of, like, how can you make it ridiculously irresistible? All right. If you're outside of the US, I don't forget you. I love you. All right. But you are going to use WhatsApp, and you're going to WhatsApp to 1-909-741-1321. And the message you send us is RF amazing. All of these instructions are in your episode notes, but I would prefer you whip out your phone and do it now. I don't want you to forget. It's important enough for you to actually receive this guide. Literally take 30 minutes.
Whip it out, baby. Whip it out.
He has his cell phone in his hand. All right, guys.
Whip it out.
My Rocketeers are very dirty. Anyway.
That's the right fit audience. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's the right.
Yeah.
If anyone was offended by that, bye. Not interested.
Right. Exactly. Our intention here, I've always said, my intention is to introduce you to people that are doing like excellent work. Ken, you're truly rocket fuel for the folks that you work with. But I don't want people to say, oh, I intend to like follow him at some point. Like, get this guide. It's gonna like change your perspective. And it also is kind of when you're coming from a good place in that, like, oh, I really want to introduce great value to people, it's not so scary to offer it. You kind of feel like I'm being of service to say, like, this is what I truly believe is like the right thing if you're feeling this, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, the fun part about it is when you really recognize the value that you have to offer. And that is a struggle for a lot of people because of imposter syndrome, which is very real, right? But once you recognize the value that you truly have, and you created an offer, a proposition, an invitation that is so overwhelmingly value oriented, then your attitude is going to be like, if you don't accept this, you need counseling. Something is wrong with you. If you say no, there's something clinically wrong with you. And when you have, and I say that, and I kind of mean it, because
yeah, you believe in it so much, the value.
Yeah, it's your certainty of the value you can offer. I mean, I have people all day long, and you've been to my event, so you know what I'm talking about. That are like, my God, you changed my life. And I have people that started with a value of $49 for their ebook, and then just in 3 days went up 18 times to $900, and now she's at $9,000. So the growth of who we think we are has to shift, right?
Yeah.
And then when you have that certainty of, yeah, I really am worthy, I really do have that element of value, and I really can change your life. And by the way, even if you don't know the topic, let's get clear for a second. When I started doing my second digital event was called Trading Profit Strategies. I was teaching people. Well, I wasn't doing the teaching, but I was teaching people how to trade stocks. Now, I have a 100% success rate in the stock market. 100% of the time, I lose all my money. 100%. I know nothing.
Oh,
just
my goodness.
Just from Hope. That's Hogan's Heroes. If you think back, but in any event, just channeling John Banner. But in any, he played Colonel Corporal Klinger, not Klinger. Damn it, whatever. Anyway.
I don't know.
And by the way, if you mess up the references, don't worry, they'll just laugh with you anyway. Just keep going.
Exactly.
Johnny Carson used to like that joke was bad, and everyone loved that. It was more funny than the actual joke itself.
Yeah.
In any event, it was whatever. Now it's going to bother me. But there was a point to this which I've completely forgotten. At this point,
Now I'm trying to think of like Hogan's Hero. I'm like,
I have no clue what the hell I'm talking about.
You said you had no idea you were 100% successful about the stock.
Right. So what did I do? I brought in 5 speakers who were experts, and I hosted them. Okay, so
Yes.
I curated that content. So if you're in the space of, gee whiz, I don't really have that expertise yet. I want to teach this stuff, but I'm not the guy or the gal. Then bring people in
Mhm.
who can add the value that you can't, and host it and deliver
Mhm.
it that way. So you don't have to be. And listen, when the pandemic first started hitting, I put together a program. It was 55 speakers over 28 and a half hours nonstop. Nonstop. Yeah, you should see me at the
Wa
end. I was a basket case. It was it was really crazy. You watched me suddenly decline. But
Right.
it was really fun. It was called Opportunity-thon. And it
Ah.
was an online marathon of people that had a way of sharing what's the biggest opportunity during this whole COVID disaster, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
a lot of people have had their best years ever, those
Mhm.
that didn't die, right?
Mhm.
Literally. But there's people that have been struggling, and I saw friends that were in the hospitality business that were frozen. And I was like, can we do to help them? So I put this whole program together. But I didn't even speak. I just hosted it. I mean, I interviewed
Mhm.
people, but we were talking about it afterwards. Like, I forgot to have a session of my own. But so you don't have to be the guru, the expert. All you got to do is have the vision for what you want to contribute, and then you make it happen that way. I mean, right
Right,
now,
and but
for
then you have
example,
to have your endpoint. You have to have like, okay,
yeah,
I'm collecting all these people, and this is why
yeah,
the offer is so important, right?
critically,
Because it's like, well, what is all of this leading to? You have to have that end point, and then that
yep.
kind of influences the structure and the flow of the event.
Yeah, we've got to begin with, we begin with the end in mind. And I say that all roads lead to Rome.
Mhm.
And that's the whole focus. If you don't have that, and by the way, if it doesn't fit the the flight to Rome, doesn't get on the
Yeah.
plane. When we
Yes.
craft, that's a good metaphor. I should use that. One of the
Yes.
one of the things that's so critically important is that people, when they design their events, they start adding all sorts of stuff that's cutesy or this or that, and it
Mm.
distracts, distracts. And that sometimes I tell my clients, less is more. Just
Yeah.
leave it alone. Just talk to your people. Let them be part of the community. Community building is critical. People spend a fortune. I mean, a fortune on community.
Mhm.
They'll buy your program for what I call wisdom transfer, but they'll stay because of the
Mhm.
community. That's why they'll renew.
Mhm.
They don't want to be disconnected, because so many of us have challenges at home. Okay, let's not get into that whole thing,
Yeah.
but how many of your friends think you're a nutcase? I used to have a friend of mine take walks with me. So, Ken, are you ready to get a real job? I'm like,
Mhm.
what? What? You know, so we're not understood as entrepreneurs. We're not understood. Our family has no clue what the hell we're doing. My grandmother
Yeah.
had no clue what I did, had no respect for me because I wasn't the doctor, the lawyer, the accountant. When I finally showed her my first book, she goes, "Ah, my grandson, the author." Then I finally respected, right? So
Yeah.
having that community of like-minded people that get each other. That's why masterminds are so powerful these days, but they'll
Yes.
stay. And if you build that component into your premium value offer, and there's 4 pillars that I teach that are so fundamental that most people don't get all of them.
Right.
And
And
that's why
that's in the value bomb, right? That's
it just
those
might be.
it
You'll
just
have to
might
find
be.
out.
You have to find out,
You'll
but
have to go text to that catchword, baby, and find out on your own. That was
oh
just a
my goodness. Well, I mean,
little
we're
pitch for the freebie there,
just
like anchor
just a
it in.
little yes, exactly. Well, honestly, like you put the time in. And I want to point out, like, yes, you definitely put the time in putting this together because you initially sent one thing and then we talked through it and we rehashed it
Mm,
or whatever. So I just want you guys to know that we put a lot of thought into how to optimally serve you as a listener. That's very important to me and my guests. Ken, you worked really hard on putting that together. So I'm not like saying it lightly that if this resonates with you at all, then I do recommend that you text that, and I'm going to introduce it right at the end. But one thing that we didn't touch on is what I thought was really intriguing is your approach about incorporating digital events as like a consistent part of your business. And you had
yeah.
this response to, like, everybody saying, oh, this big one event that you have a year,
Yeah.
and that's really stressful. So tell me about your perspective on that.
Great. That's a really good distinction. So a couple things. So you see some of the people that are doing their big monumental events with 1,000 people, 5,000 people, whatever it is. They do it once a year, like Funnel Hacking Live. Fantastic event. But what happens if you aren't ready for it today? But in 6 months you need it. What happens in 4 months if you need it? You got to wait
Right, because
for
there's a
another
big
8
offer at the end of that event. And
for sure.
basically, like if you're not there at that event, you need to wait an entire year, or at
A
least that's the
year.
perception, right?
Exactly.
An
And
entire year to get that value of the of
well, it's
his program.
just not even their high ticket offer, but
Mm.
the event itself where the learning is. It's like if you need a roof,
Mm.
you need a roof now. You don't need to wait a year to get the roof on your house. If it's leaking, it's leaking. If you want the knowledge and the wisdom that comes from, and like if you want to do events, for example, and I'm only doing my program now, then you're going to wait a year to see me do it again. That doesn't work. You want to run an event next week, next month, right?
Yeah.
So my structure is originally it was six times a year, one every other month. But I used to do
Mm.
3-day events every weekend. I would travel to a different city. So to me, to just do it at home is no real biggie.
Right.
So now we're scheduled for 8 events a year, but they're limited in size. We won't go any bigger than 250, and there's a reason for it.
Mm.
There's a reason for it. Number one, my design. I like the connection of getting cheeky with people, and if I have thousands, I can't see them. So I
Yeah.
learned long ago the difference between 50 and 70 people. Between 50 and 70 made a difference to me in my heart.
Mm. Mhm.
So and is it a little bit more expensive? Yeah, but guess what? Your conversion rates go up a little bit too because the connection's so tight. People know they're seen and they matter, and when they know they matter and they're respected and they're seen, gee whiz, they want more of it as opposed to being
Yeah.
lost and begging for attention. The other thing to consider is this. I talk about events as a tool. The objective is ultimately to sell your premium value offer, really to build your business. And you could do it in many different ways. I mean,
Mhm.
you can absolutely do people calling in on a Facebook ad to a coaching or to a strategy call and sell from that. And people do very well with that. But
Mhm.
they're not onboarded with the same level of community and the same level of connection. When people come to my program, okay, and it's a pretty significant investment,
Mhm.
they're onboarded almost instantly because during the 3 days of my Pride experience, I'm evaluating them, they're evaluating me, and my alumni that are members of the Safari community are in there too. And so by the time someone is approved, if they're approved into the program, they already know the culture and
Yes.
they're already welcomed in. So now it's sort of like an old friend. Yeah, you were with us. Come on in, as opposed to some stranger that's coming in off of whatever. It's sort of like have you ever moved and been first day of a school in another city where you've never been before? You feel like, oh God, what am I going to do? I have no friends.
Uh-huh.
Not not now. Now it's like
Yeah.
you spend 3 days with these people, so it really does allow you
Yeah,
to
you're
make
excited to see those people on the other side, right? Like that
exactly.
everybody's kind of part of that journey. And so as Ken had mentioned, when I first met Ken, I was like, this is really interesting. He talked about the Pride experience. I just want to point out that Pride actually means produce ridiculously irresistible digital events. I was like, what? Yeah, that's awesome, right?
Everything
But
we do is in an acronym. Everything we
I,
do.
I know it is kind of funny. Yeah, you have an acronym for everything. But what's interesting about this is because what you do is help people put together these types of events. When they go through that 3-day experience, you actually get to witness a lot of your formula, not everything, but you're actually seeing it, you know it play out in front of you, which is just an amazing way to buy and feel comfortable, right? Because you're literally witnessing what it is that you are seeking, to achieve, which is really cool. So before we wrap up, you said that you're getting into, you were doing it 6 times a year. You're
Yeah.
starting to offer it 8 times a year. So when you do text RF dash amazing, right, 2411321. I mean, you're
Do it
not only going to
now.
get the
Do
guide.
it
Yeah, do
now.
it now.
Do it now.
You're not only going to get the guide, but then you'll have access to speak to somebody, to either Ken or somebody on his team. Get in. It's very low cost. Get in. on the event, tell them that you heard it from Rocket Fuel. Maybe Ken will take care of you somehow. But I just threw you under the bus
You
right there.
never know, darling. You never know.
But text RF-amazing. You will immediately get that guide to 411321, of course, if you're in the US. You're going to get that guide. You'll also get a link so that you can learn more about this Pride experience. It's very, very intriguing. The other thing, obviously, if you're outside of the US, you can text it using WhatsApp to 1909-741-1321. And remember, the keyword, the message you're going to send is RF-amazing, all one word. Don't forget to provide your email address. One thing before we wrap up that I want to just keep reiterating, because everything that you say and your messaging is all about value. Like your concept around delivering this experience multiple times a year, you brought it up based on you just put together this awesome thing, and people have to wait for it again. If you truly believe that it was value and impactful, yes, plan to do it over and over again not of a sense of me, right? But as a sense of delivering the value that you intend to, that you desire to do. And so I just want to point that out, because it's very evident, and it's very evident in how you talk about everything, that you're impact and value driven. And so if that resonates with you as a Rocketeer, as you're listening, I know that, there are a lot of various experts that we could work with, especially when we're thinking about how we present ourselves on stage and what we may want to do. But those are values that are very important. They're unique, that I see in you, Ken. And so I just want to make sure that I bring that out to the audience. So with that being said, yeah, as we're wrapping up, what are your final words, since I've been yapping? Final words to our Rocketeers.
Oh my gosh. Step out, challenge yourself, grow, and serve.
Yeah, the step out is really important. Imagine stepping out on your own stage. Nice.
See, it's finally taking control right now in the world. And, you may see this program 3 years from when we're recording it, but guess what? We need to continue to take charge of our lives, and the world is all about taking charge of us. Let's regain our control, so that way we have control of our lives. That's what this will do for you.
Exactly. I love it. Thank you, Ken, the founder of Amazing Digital Events. Please text RF-amazing to 411321 or the WhatsApp. Check it out in the episode notes. I hope, Ken, you have an amazing day from Australia. I mean, he's serving you from Australia. It's like a ridiculous time. And I want to thank you so much. And Rocketeers, I hope that you have a rockin' day. Bye now. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Look, every one of our episodes is boosted by a value-packed keyword called a catchword. Yeah. This allows our audiences to text to receive even more value from our guests. So take advantage of that great value. And if you share your expertise by guesting on podcasts or TV or speaking in front of live or digital audiences, then you're leaving anonymous fans behind. So go get a catchword at catchwords.com, KETCH words.com, and use podcast20 as a promo code for 20% off your setup fee. Look, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Rocket Fuel podcast so you never miss your jolt of Rocket Fuel. Until next time, adios.